Hey everyone, Diff here, and this time we have a Lux video for you. So I do play a bit of Lux. I play a bunch of the other long-range AP mages, both mid and support, so sometimes you'll see them showcased on this channel, like Vel'Koz, Lux Xerath mostly, and this is one of those times because the interaction that we're going to be talking about I think benefits Lux the most out of those three. I did make a Xerath video on this, but I feel like Lux deserved her own video. Because it really seems to work the best with her. So what is this video about? Well, it's about the new rune Jack of all trades and how this interacts with support Lux specifically. This is in the inspiration tree. Now I know inspiration isn't necessarily the go-to rune choice for Lux. A lot of people like to go Comet for the in-lane harass. And unfortunately, the way First Strike is being changed, although I think First Strike was quite good on Lux previously, especially support Lux and things like that. Recently, with the actual damage that you're doing being less important in terms of generating the gold, I think that it actually hurts Lux and kind of benefits more spammy champions like Xerath, right? Before, I actually really liked First Strike on Lux because you could generate a ton of gold with a combo, right? And you'd pretty much always get First Strike off for that, and it would return pretty sizable chunk of gold. Now it's going to be a lot less, and you may actually get more, especially in the early game, just spamming out some poke on Xerath. But it might still be good on Lux. We'll have to see how the patch turns out, right? But this rune is kind of interesting because it gives you, as it says, for each different stat gain from items, gain 1 Jack stack. Each stack grants you 1 ability haste. Gain 10 or 25 bonus adaptive force at 5 and 10 stacks, respectively. So at first glance, you're like, well, this would be terrible on most long-range mage champions because you pretty much want to invest in like specific stats, right? And we're not trying to get every stat in the tree. We're not trying to be a jack of all trades. We kind of know what we want. However, the support item kind of changes the game a little bit because it gives you quite a few stats. And unfortunately, the gold per 10 does not actually count as a stat. This has been verified by me on the practice tool currently, and I don't think that it's a bug because last week I actually reported this as a bug as well as another stat that wasn't working, which was movement speed. So basically percent movement speed and flat movement speed didn't count as separate stats, and flat penetration and percentage penetration did. So I went ahead and reported the movement speed, and I reported the gold per 10, and only the movement speed got fixed. So I think that's a pretty clear indicator that they didn't intend for gold per 10 to actually be a stat, which means we're down 1 stat, but it's not really the end of the world because we still have a very easy time making this work on this champion. So where do we get our stats from, right? So we have health, base health regen, base mana regen, that's 3 stats right there. Then ability power, magic penetration, and percent movement speed. That's another 3 stats, so that's 6. Then we have ability haste and mana, which is 2 more, so we have 8, right? And then we have flat movement speed. We can't count the percent penetration or the flat penetration because we already have it on Storm Surge, right? So this is 9. And then the percent penetration is 10 on the Void Staff. So this gets us to 10, which unlocks the second threshold, which is plus 15 AP, which is kind of nice. So didn't think we'd be able to get to 10 stacks on an AP champion like Lux, but we have, right? Now, the problem here, though, is that do we really want to go this build is the question. So Luden's Companion and Storm Surge, I think, are great, but the real question I have is the Void Staff, because obviously Lux's AP ratio, particularly on the ult, is like so powerful that I usually like to go like third item Rabadons or something like that, especially if I have like a Dark Seal over here that's giving me a little bit more AP or something like that. So do we really want to go this build, right? So what I did is I set up a couple of dummies here to kind of test the damage of a build like this to see like in what cases might it actually be, you know, preferable to go. And keep in mind that obviously this build costs like 600 gold less than if you were to build a Rabadons in place of Void Staff. So the damage should be expected to be a little bit lower at least. It's just a question of, do you kind of want to wait for the Rabadons and do a bit more damage, or do you want to, get things a little bit quicker and do a little bit less damage? But I think you'll be surprised that on like moderately MR'd targets that are kind of like Bruiser-esque, this build actually does really good. It's just that on the super squishy targets, it does lag behind a little bit damage-wise, but probably still enough damage to one combo them. So we'll kind of see. So this is the 40 MR, like 1700 health. This is meant to represent like an 80 carry, essentially. And we have 2 levels in R and 5 levels in both Q and E. You would have a 5-level Q even at level 11, although obviously to get these items, you'd probably be a little bit higher level at that point, probably level 13 or 14. But we have the extra point here anyway from the triple tonic that grants the elixir of skill. That's kind of how we're getting here. So we're just going to do a combo on this with the items that we have here. And you see it's 26.54. And then we will sell the Void Staff with the Rabadons, and we will reset our cooldowns. We have to wait for first strike still. And then we will go again. Oh, I have to reset that because if you have this, it'll like reproc your Storm Surge. So you have to do that again. So it's 26.54. Keep in mind for the first go around. First strike is back. $29.01. So it's kind of a substantial difference, obviously, right? However, when we go over to the other dummy over here, I'll just sub this out, so do it in the same order, nobody gets confused. I'll reset things, then click that off, waiting for first strike. Okay, and now we will 1926 with the Void Staff, right? And then we'll sell the Void Staff, Rabadons, we'll reset the cooldowns again, and wait. And 1802. So kind of a substantial difference in the favor of the Void Staff, actually. And this is a build that costs 600 more gold. That's kind of to be expected because this has 110 MR. What this is kind of meant to represent is like a Bruiser, something like, think like maybe Riven or Kane that bought like a Mullah. So they have about 60 base MR at the level we're talking about, like level 13, 14. And they add like a 50 MR item on top of that. And they probably have around 2200 health to 2500 health. Something like that, right? So depending on like what you're needing to kill in the game and what is actually in your game, this is not necessarily a terrible build. And if you do happen to go this route with Jack of all trades, you'll be able to activate it fully if you use the Void Staff variant. Now, that's not the only thing you can activate it with. However, a lot of the traditional damage items aren't really going to help to put you over the edge, right? So if you're going to activate it with something else, you would probably need to do something like Zanya's. You can see it still activates because we have the 50 armor. You could do Banshee's Veil, something like that, right? These could have to be some type of other defensive item, most likely, because all your damage stats are pretty much covered. So yeah, that's basically it. Just thought it was an interesting thing. Still don't know, if you're going to want to be going first strike on this champion. Again, I'll have to kind of play test it and see. Because like I said, the changes to first strike definitely hurt Lux specifically. But it's something to keep an eye on. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you learned something. And see you next time.